To me, I don't really understand how you could be a player and not write songs because they go hand in hand to me.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Wino, and I'm a guitar player, singer in The Obsessed.
The Obsessed and a number of other projects over the years, some of which I've seen, like Spirit Caravan. I should also mention that you're in The Hidden Hand and Shrine Builder. Would you say that you're associated with any particular style of music?
People call it doom, but the reality is I think that's just because people need a reference. I like to call it hard rock, or, for lack of a better term, hope rock, really.
Hope rock. And why hope rock?
Well, because there's got to be a silver lining. I mean, with my music in particular, I like to have an uplifting part to it. I mean, yeah, when I sang in Saint Vitus, that's pretty down and dirty. There might not have been that much uplifting stuff there. That's doom rock. The Obsessed is a little bit different.
Can you tell me a little bit why The Obsessed is different musically from Saint Vitus?
I think that with Saint Vitus was Saint Vitus. Saint Vitus was a very important and a seminal band, in my opinion. Saint Vitus was slow, bleak, primitive, and angry. I think that we always considered ourselves a punk rock band, even though we played slow because of our attitude. The Obsessed is more of I think that without trying to sound too aloof, I think The Obsessed is more of a player's band, and I also think that music is definitely a little bit more intricate. And I also think that the lyrics are hopefully stimulate a little bit more thought than just pleading the case for being a drug addict or an alcoholic.
Right. I mean, the roots of The Obsessed go back way before any of these terms existed, like doom metal, stoner rock, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm curious, was there any particular band or bands, or maybe a particular album that led you down this path to create the music that you're associated with playing?
Well, at 62, my first records were like Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I mean, that was the hardest. That was hard for me right there. I had to decide which one of those records I was going to buy first. I bought the Hendrix record because I'm really into the playing, but I also was really into Sabbath. I mean, I never got to see Hendrix live, but I did get to see Black Sabbath at an early age. And the thing about Black Sabbath was a power and a feeling unlike anything that had ever happened before. I mean, you had Budgie, and you had bands like you had your glam bands like Slade or Mott the Hoople, or the New York Dolls, stuff like this. But man, Black Sabbath was completely different. They were like, it was low, it was visceral, singing songs about very hot button, subjects, Pope, drugs, the war. That was brand new, and that's like I will say that the early Sabbath records really inspired me, as did the Hendrix records. The Hendrix records was more from a player's aspect, from listening to this beautiful godlike music, and just in wonderment, really. He's painting these lyrical pictures of beauty and strange landscapes, where Sabbath was sort of just like, and so that's that. I mean, that's great. That's one pillar. So the two pillars for me, Hendrix, Sabbath.
Nice. And how old were you when you walked through these two pillars? How old were you when you heard these albums?
I was like, between 11 and around 11, 12. I saw Sabbath, I do believe, on my 13th birthday. I was born in 60. I'd like to say that that's like Master Reality, but we already had Master Reality. So it was soon after they were supporting. I remember I did not get a chance to see Volume 4. So I saw Sabbath right around Master Reality.
Very cool. And how old were you when you started writing your own songs?
I started writing my own songs for the first time I started picking up a guitar. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a really important point that I always have. It's like, to me, I don't really understand how you could be a player and not write songs, because they go hand in hand to me. I mean, I guess I can understand, a player like Segovia or Yngwie Malmsteen, who are just brilliant players. But, to me, it's always been the most important thing about the music I like, or the music I think. The most powerful thing about music, really, in general, to me, is the power of the song.
Gotcha.
So I still can remember some of my very first songs I wrote.
And as far as songwriting goes, what makes a good song? What do you hope to accomplish when you begin writing a song?
Well, it needs to inspire emotion. I mean, that's what songs do. Songs inspire emotion. Like you hear a song, and it can take you back to a time. You can even like smell the smells, or see in your mind's eye, like the time when you first heard that song and it first hit you hard. The song is power of emotion, and music is emotion's companion, really, So yeah, it's got to. I think it should inspire thought, if nothing else, passion. A lot of times, in my opinion, a good song might not even need a guitar solo.
When you start writing, do you always start on the guitar?
It depends. Sometimes I get a concept in my head. Like, a lot of times I'll get a concept. Like, for example, lavender and sage. We get a concept. Two concept. Words go together, and then maybe later on I'll have a riff, and I'll fit the riff to the concept. Or sometimes I'll get a riff, then I'll be like, I'll fit the riff to the concept. But a lot of times, this is what I call the divine inspiration. When you get the riff, the concept, and the lyrics all in one go, then that's magic right there. That's what I call the divine inspiration, because that's when the song comes together immediately, I mean, granted, I might be fine-tuning a lyric here and there in the studio on the day of, just fine-tuning a single word or a single phrase, But, to be able to finish a song, to get the divine inspiration to finish a song, on the spot, that's magic.
I always think of your guitar tone and how iconic and how distinctive it is. How long did it take for you to find that tone?
Well, I mean, basically, like, I was into Sabbath, I was into Hendrix, but I realized a long time ago that I like more of a visceral sound. I mean, I like more of a low end sound. And so like if I'm approaching an amplifier, okay, what I want power. I want the amplifier to give me sustain. I need sustain and I need low end. I like to get my sound without a pedal on the whole time. And so basically when I approach an amplifier, I'll overdrive it to see how much gain it's going to give me. I'll crank the bass to see how much low end it's going to give me. And then, so basically I'm looking for sustain, low end, and then bring in the tone knobs on top of that to give me my highs and my sparkle. A lot of amps, they don't have, people get really used to using a pedal on the whole time. But I don't think you need to do that. If you have a good amplifier and you have some good high output pickups, you don't need to use a pedal on the whole time. And I think for me, that's sort of like the characteristics of my sound. Like for a long time, I used a Sun Model T, but I would always have to hot rod them. I mean, I would have to change the preamp tubes, give more sustain. I'd put in, I would spend the money and I'd buy, a Max Quad, top of the line, Straight-Giannis, power tubes. So you've got it all going on right then, Every amp is different, but that became the sort of the centerpiece of my sound, the Model T, with Les Paul, with some hot wound pickups. And, of course now I'm lucky enough to have, people making amplifiers for me and also pickups. I'm endorsed by both Solar Amplification and a Vitus pickups. My new pickup is the Bloodwing. So, I mean, I'm lucky. It's been a lot of years, man. It's been a lot of years. So I feel pretty lucky at this point in time to have what I have.
In addition to your work with the Obsessed and Saint Vitus, you've also done a number of solo acoustic records. Are you picky when it comes to acoustic guitars? Do you have a preference?
I'm definitely picky. I mean, I like something that sounds full, very easy to play. I mean, I had a Rosewood. I like Gibson acoustics. I had a new Gibson J45 Studio, and actually, I got a wild hair in my ass, fucking traded it for a 1965 Gibson J50. There's something about that old wood, man. I had to throw in some dough on top of that deal. But man, there's something about that old wood. So right now, I've got a beautiful 1965 Gibson J50, which is like, it's not quite as full. It's like a Rosewood guitar, but the mahogany is old and it's the shit.
I'm curious, after years of making this like super heavy, super low end music, what led you to want to make acoustic records?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'd always been into Neil Young. I mean, I believe that, a heavy tune doesn't necessarily have to mean it's electric, I mean, I think you can write a heavy tune on acoustic. I've always been into Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, and then some years ago when I got turned on to Townes Van Zandt, his dark. I mean, not everything is not everything. I mean, like I had to really look hard to find a couple songs of the Townes I wanted to cover. But in my opinion, one of his songs called A Song for ... like a song for, empty ... I think that's one of the heaviest songs ever written, and I intend to do an electric version of that someday.
Very cool. We spoke about your association with doom metal. I mean, one of the reasons is that at the time that the Obsessed were releasing their first albums, and later the Saint Vitus albums that you were associated, that you sang on, there weren't a lot of bands doing slow, heavy music. Everyone was trying to get faster and faster and faster. You had the speed metal thing. You had hardcore punk. I'm curious what that period of time was for you as a songwriter.
Well, the Vitus days, I mean, one must understand, and a lot of people don't know this or lose sight of this, that I was the singer in Saint Vitus. I didn't write a lot of that, almost all of that music. I mean, that music was almost all written by Dave Chandler. And of course, he wrote the iconic song "Born Too Late," which has become sort of like the war cry of the doom youth. But basically, it was hard to be in St. Vitus. We were on SST. We would get thrown on a lot of, if an SST band would cancel, supporting, for whatever reason, supporting an agnostic front show in San Francisco in the day, we'd get thrown on that bill. And I must admit, it was a little bit tough sometimes. A little bit tough. I mean, we did not get our deal with Metal Blade because the Obsessed stuff was too slow. Because, the Obsessed first record should have been a Metal Blade record. But the deal then was, you got one song on his compilation, and then after that, you got your full length, right? But on his compilation, that's when thrash hit. The Obsessed had, Concrete Cancer was our track, but it also was the debut of Nasty Savage, The Possessed, Dark Angel. Slayer was just, getting on their EP and their first record. So it was on then. So we were looked upon as dinosaurs. Slago didn't give us our full length. And that's another story, but I'm just saying it was definitely difficult. But, we never really, you can't give in under pressure. It's like if you believe in something and you believe in your music, then you believe in your music.
Yeah. There are only a few bands that were doing similar slow and heavy Sabbath-inspired music. Like I think of Trouble. Trouble released a number of albums in the 80s, as well as Candlemass. Yeah. Were you familiar with the other bands that were working in a similar style?
Oh yeah, I was a Big Trouble fan. Candlemass also. It's like, luckily over the years I've got a chance to to meet those guys, and unfortunately we lost Eric, a couple of years ago. But yeah, last time I was in Sweden, I talked to Messiah. Yeah, I love that stuff. I mean, that's we were a small camaraderie,
How did you get in touch with Hellhound, or how did they get in touch with you?
Hellhound got in touch with Vitus, and we were still on SST. Dukowski called us down there for a meeting at SST. He said, hey, this German label, they also had a booking agency, so it wasn't really, basically, Dukowski called us down and said, hey, this German booking agency wants to book you guys a tour. And once we went over there and did that, and we saw they had a label, and we were just, David was pretty disillusioned. We were all pretty disillusioned with SST. They never paid us. They're still pressing this stuff and not paying anybody, although nobody really knows. I mean, David might have been getting paid all the time. Who knows? Bottom line is, it's like we were disillusioned with SST, and so we went with their label. We went with the Hellhound. And then after that, Vitus was on Hellhound, then I sort of became a Hellhound scout. And, some of my favorite bands from Maryland, like Internal Void, Asylum, I recommended to Hellhound so, they could enrich their, so I could help my friends out and they could also enrich their roster.
It's interesting. I spoke to somebody else in the Maryland area earlier today, and we were talking about the history of doom metal and like slow heavy music that's come out of Maryland. Do you know when that started? Like, did it start with you guys?
Well, Pentagram was doing it first. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, Pentagram goes way back. So Pentagram was from Virginia. That's close enough. I mean, Maryland, Virginia, D.C. So Pentagram was like playing the keg. Before I even had a fake ID to get in at 18. So let's hand it. Let's give credit where credit's due. Bobby was doing it a long time ago, and he was the first, in my opinion. You also, if you take it back to the Melvins, I mean, how long have the Melvins been at it? I mean, gluey porch treatments and beyond. I mean, that shit. I remember, being in Vitus on our very first tour. I don't even think Born Too Late was out yet, and somebody sitting down and playing the Melvins, gluey porch treatments. I mean, so I don't know which was first, but I'd say probably in our area, Pentagram was definitely doing it way before anybody else. And so, they've been through some changes. I mean, one of the early guitar players in Pentagram plays with Mary Chapin Carpenter. I mean,
Cool. So earlier this year it was announced that you had finished recording the fifth Obsessed album, which is called Gilded Sorrow, and which will be released by Ripple Music. Can you tell me a little bit about the album?
Yeah, I can. A little while ago, maybe 2 years ago or so, we added a second guitar player, and we also got a new bass player. So when Jason Taylor joined on guitar, Chris Engelberger joined on bass. In my opinion, it really solidified the Obsessed into what I consider to be the best rendition ever. Gilded Sorrow is, in my opinion, probably the heaviest record I've ever done. I mean, there's a song on Gilded Sorrow, Realize a Dream, that goes all the way back to the 80s, to the late 70s even, when I wrote that song. I mean, I wrote Realize a Dream when, my buddy first brought a Farfisa organ into my pad, and I plugged my a quarter inch into his Leslie, and had my phase shifter going, my small tone into a Leslie. I mean, that was before I even was in a band. I mean, that was so I wrote that song in God damn, I can't even tell you how long ago that song. So anyways, Asylum recorded that song, and then we resurrected it for this record. So Realize a Dream, so that's an old song. The title track, Gilded Sorrow, I wrote 6 or 7 years ago when I was asked to write the title or the opening music for that animated thing that sort of didn't happen. I think it was called Heavy or something like that. It was a story about, a dragon. And it was done. This animated thing was supposed to be a really big deal. And anyways, that the record company Cheese, cut a good friend of mine from that, and so I didn't give them the tune. So I kept that tune, and I worked on that tune, and I think that's one of the best tunes lyrically I've ever written. Jason and Chris, but especially Jason had a really big influence on helping me co-write some stuff. He was really instrumental in adding some really amazing parts. The record runs together sort of as a piece, and it runs the gamut. I mean, there's a rock and roll tune on there, a hard rocking tune, pretty down and dirty tune, about a meth cook who gets ripped off. Jaylene is a song. There's there's some very, very personal music on there, some of which has elicited some amazing and spiritual happenings that I can't even begin to describe. It's just an incredible record. I'm proud of it. Really proud of it.
I'm curious if your method of songwriting has changed at all over the years.
I'll tell you what, you give that a listen and you tell me.
Okay. But I mean, is it when you sit down with your guitar and you start coming up with riffs, are you using a computer at all? Do you use a 4-track or anything like that?
Man, I'm still if I'm going to record something, I'm still in GarageBand phase. But you know what, man? It's I don't really need to do that. Jason's really good at that. When Jason comes over, we demo the new record. When Jason comes over, he lays down a drum beat. He likes to do that. I mean, so we did that. But I mean, I don't need that to write a song. But with 2 guitars and working out some lyrical stuff, I mean, it was nice to be able to do that. And so, he'll come out and he'll engineer that. We'll lay down a drum track. I'll tell him, I'll literally hum him a track that. I'll give him a verbal of what it should be. He'll chart it, and we'll start laying it down. Like I said, the record flows together, sort of like one piece. It only stops, where it needs to stop for a couple seconds for like one or two songs. The rest of it runs together. And we did redo the song Yen Sleep, which was off Incarnate, the first song in Incarnate. I made sure to keep that contractually open because I never felt like we did that song justice. Now I think we did that song justice. I mean, Sod and Jackal on Sacred, I didn't feel that the single version did that song justice. So I think the Sacred version did the song justice. Like, if I have a tune that I feel has been, neglected or maybe recorded but not as good as it can be, then I want it to be as good as it can be. I mean, I don't let anything go that doesn't have my personal stamp of my personal stamp quality. And that means what you're going to get great production, you're going to get great performance, and you're going to get a fucking good listening record. I mean, it's for the people. It's for me, but it's also for the people. I mean, I don't do this to make myself happy solely. I mean, making a good record that enriches other people's lives, or making music that enriches other people's lives, that is the goal. I mean, how can it not be the goal? Because love is at the heart of all of everything. I mean, so we understand that, right? I mean, not trying to sound too hippy dippy, but you have to understand that with me. I mean, that's where it comes from. It comes from a love of humanity, people, a love of music, a love of quality. Like, I'm not going to just put something out there because some dude gives me $10,000 that's going to sound like fucking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to make sure that it's the best it could possibly be for the consumer, for lack of a better word.
You spoke about the guitar and drums demos that you record. What state of completion are the songs in when the rest of the band hears them? Are the arrangements done, or is there still room for?
Well, this last time for this particular record, like I say, when me and Jason sat down, we did some demos of the entire songs. And to be honest with you, I like some of the vocal production on the demos better than the final record. That's where you get into. That's where it becomes challenging, okay? Because when I'm sitting down with Jason doing these demos, just me and him, whatever state of mind we happen to be in, whether we were straight, whether we were wired, whatever it might be, sometimes you'll play a solo and you'll feel so inspired that then it will be hard to recreate what I consider to be the quality of that solo onto the big record. So here's my thing about demo right now. Now that we're on this demo thing, okay? To me, why record a demo if it can be quality enough that it's going to be the product? I mean, there's no reason to spend $5,000 to go record a demo if you could spend $7,000 and make that your final record. I mean, I guess if you're looking for a record deal or something like that, in a way, I'm kind of jaded, and maybe I'm overlooking the process here, or maybe I'm putting the process down a little bit here. If you're looking for a record deal or something like that, I guess that's really important. But I'm lucky enough at this point in my career where I don't have to demo for my label. I mean, my label believes in me enough to where they don't ask for a demo. They just give me, they give me what I need, and and we take it from there. So in a way, I'm lucky. But so yeah, I guess demoing is important. But I mean, it's much easier these days to do something like that. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry, I was rambling a little bit there.
No worries. I'm just curious how much input the rest of the band has once they hear your songs.
Oh, well, it really depends. I mean, we all live in different states, so it's like when we get together a demo, me and Jason, whatever, we're trying to flesh the song out. I mean, we definitely send it around, and everybody has their opinions. Brian will come in and he'll put his, we just lay down a basic drum beats. Brian will come in and he'll put in the beats he hears in his head, or we'll all make suggestions. We all work together and make suggestions. But yeah, everybody has their say for sure. It's definitely a democracy.
You recorded the album with Frank Marchand at Waterford Digital. You worked with Frank before on the Sacred album. What do you like about working with Frank?
Yeah, he also did Forever Gone, my solo record. Frank is he's got an amazing knowledge he's got an amazing command of the digital realm, but he's got an amazing collection of analog stuff. In other words, it's like a Les Paul orgy. He's got you can have a snare drum for every tune, basically. You know what I mean? A different snare drum for every tune. So he's got this incredible command of the digital realm, but he's also got an incredible command of his gear. He's amazing. He's also an amazing live front of house guy. So he's done live sound enough to where he's got a really he's just he's one of these people that can walk into a room, troubleshoot the PA, run your fucking sound, and then record your record. He's just amazing. I really don't know any other way to put it, really.
What would you say he brought to the sound of the album?
He's one of these guys that, one of the best attributes an engineer producer can have is to pull performance out of the artist without pissing you off. That's a fine line. And Frank and me, we understand each other in that way. Like, I'm the kind of guy, like, it takes a lot for me to get really mad. Like, for me to get really mad at somebody, they have to be just a straight up fucking cocksucker, straight up asshole right out of the gate. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I have a lot of push and pull. Like, I can tell if Frank, it's nothing personal. Like, to be honest with you, Frank and Jason kind of butted heads right away. And on the second day going in, Jason was a little upset. And I said, well, I'm going to say something to Frank when we get in there because I think he's hammering you a little hard. And as soon as we got in there, Frank took us aside and goes, listen, I want to tell you guys, nothing personal. So he beat us to it because he knew already,
Was there any recording experience over the years that was particularly stressful for you, that you really thought the guy was a cocksucker?
Well, I guess cocksucker, is probably not the best term to use in this day. Let's just say asshole.
Asshole.
Well, not really, because I'm not going to walk into that situation.
Right. Fair enough.
It's like anything. You don't bring your girlfriend into the Hells Angels bar. You know what I'm saying. You don't walk in. I don't go to the recording studio with budget someplace that I know is going to suck. You know what I mean?
Madonna, she called from the sky, the shelf of the thrift store on Waring and Vine. Called out my name as clear as the day, so I paid my $2 and I took her away. Under the freeway is where we go home, spot by the bushes, away from the road, where we landed these days after doing some time, just try to play. All the loving's gone away. In hopelessness, my heart is torn. Crystal Madonna, she sings by my fire, facets reflecting my every desire. Yeah, how sweetly she sings through the night's torment, the comfort she brings. All the loving's gone away. In hopelessness, my heart is torn. All the loving's gone. All the loving's gone. Crystal Madonna, I treasure you so. In my coat pocket, to my heart you are close. You're right along to my drunken forays, trying to score in downtown LA. Morning had found her broken in half. She's not crystal, she's not even glass. Into a plastic demon she's changed. My only friend that drives me insane. All the loving's gone away. In hopelessness, my heart is torn. All the loving's gone. All the loving's gone. All the loving's gone. All the loving's gone. All the loving's gone away.
In addition to the new album that you will be releasing, you also released a documentary in May. Can you tell me a little bit about the documentary?
Well, I will say, yeah, I think it was a pretty good snapshot of my life and career. It was done by my significant other, now my wife. I guess it's always good to have, it would always be good to have your significant other, do a documentary on you, I guess. But I will say this. I think it's accurate. I think it's relevant. We didn't pull any punches. I mean, there's something that's down and dirty. I mean, I think it is a true representation of my career and my life. And I think it was really well done. I'm happy with it. People seem to be liking it. I mean, we debuted it in Woodstock at this old theater, and, a lot of people came out. It was really pretty amazing, really.
When did the idea of the documentary...
I mean, well, it was really, the person who made the documentary, Shirley Passes. I mean, it was her, it was a personal goal of hers. I mean, as a fan of the music, as a fan of the philosophy, and, as a fan of me, I mean, she made what I consider to be a really kick-ass, accurate documentary on my life and career, solely by herself. I mean, she did she did everything by herself. And so I think she did a kick-ass job. I mean, I think it was cool. It was her vision and it was her project. And so, yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's about me. So it's a little bit hard for me to I mean, I don't really, I'm not sure if I answered the question.
No. That's a good answer. I mean, I'm curious when the idea of the documentary came about. Like when you guys started planning this? Well,
she'd had the idea, before we even started dating. She was a fan of the music. We started dating, and then it sort of took shape because we were together all the time, And so basically, I had a friend of mine, Matt Jackson from Jackson Custom Choppers in Austin, Texas, Jackson Cycle, and basically, I took my 1964 Harley Davidson Panhead chopper down to Texas because, first, I love Texas. Second of all, I really dig Matt and his work. And so he agreed to do some fabrications on my motorcycle for me, help me put it back together, and have it painted, right? So it took a couple trips back and forth from New York State, where we live, to Austin, but we did it driving. So Charlie came up with the idea that on the way to do the motorcycle, on the way to drop off the motorcycle on the way back, why don't we try to interview people, my friends and fellow musicians that lived along that path, which is pretty much everybody. So basically, for the first person we left in Maryland, we talked to Bobby. We hit North Carolina, we talked to Dixie and Shep. We hit Louisiana, we talked to Bauer. We get to Texas, we talked to Brittany and Henry, Henry Vasquez from Drummer's Vitus, Brittany Elliott, tattoo friend. We get to Austin, get to the shop, we talk to Matt, and Matt's been around a long time, but Matt is a motorcycle guy, but he's also a music fan. Like, I met Matt when he came down to see me and Scott Kelly doing our acoustic thing way back when we were still on Volcom, or I just released something on Volcom and showed Kelly, and then we had some deal with that car company with Scion, and they gave us a car, and we did an acoustic tour, me and Kelly just driving. So Matt came down to see me way back then because he loved my Townes Van Zandt cover, and he loves my original. So, the music tied everything together. So we made a couple trips back and forth, to Austin to deal with the motorcycle, and culminating in me picking it up, and bringing it back. But I mean, that was the whole premise, and I think it worked.
That's great. So at the time we're having this conversation, you have a European tour planned for September and October.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about that?
It's pretty comprehensive. We're going to be going to like Poland, Lithuania. I think we're playing UK shows, German shows again, and a lot of other countries. So that's good. That should be really cool. Basically hitting the countries that we didn't have hit on our last tour. The record, I'm not sure if the record will be out yet, but the record's probably going to be out in February 2024. And, if you can always, you can stay up to date on the Obsessed tour dates by going to my personal site, which is new-terms.com, or follow the Obsessed Official on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. And if I can plug the DVD if you want to, if you want to watch the documentary online, you can go to bit.ly/New Terms Productions. If you want to order it on DVD, wino-art.com. The wino-art.com is also my personal art site where I sell a lot of paintings and stuff. And, I was able to luckily sustain, myself and Charlie by having the art site during the whole Beloved thing,
Yeah. I'm curious, when did you start creating artwork? Is this something that's been lifelong for you?
It's been lifelong. I was always a little bit, I was always a little bit I wasn't as confident about my art as I was my music, but, luckily, a lot of people encouraged me, and I think that basically it's pretty weird. I definitely know who, like, my most twisted fans are by the stuff they buy, but also it also allows me to get in a couple punches here and there, on hot button stuff, or like, establishment, we're fighting a big fight right now, if you want to call it a fight. We're in a crucial time right now. So my artwork is one way that allows me to elaborate on the crisis that we're in,
Yeah.
And what to do about it and comment on it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What mediums do you usually work in? On the documentary, there's some scenes of you drawing with metallic ink.
Yeah, I use metallic ink. I use paint. I use alcohol ink. Pretty much anything. I did a portrait of my wife in black toothpaste. It took 2 years to dry, but it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like inspired by everything, really. Like, in my opinion, the world is your canvas, and we have a saying here in this house: it's creator guy.
Yeah, right on. And so the artwork that people buy from you, these are original pieces, right? Not prints?
They're original pieces. I don't do prints of anything. And sometimes I frame them. Most of the time I frame them, and sometimes I do work on the frame. I think it's a piece of me, and it's not something like corporate or J-Man. Yeah, they're all original. My photograph them, so I have a photographic catalog of them. I guess if the digital world goes away, then I won't have that catalog anymore. But yeah, it's personal stuff, and I appreciate the people that buy it.
And so you told people how they can order the documentary, and you also gave a tentative release date for the album. Is there anything else you want people to know about?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the Obsessed fans and stuff that are coming out to shows. I appreciate you hitting up our pages, and I appreciate all the comments. It's like, it's a lot of work, but we do it for you, straight up. And so, thank you.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Wino.
You're welcome.